listening to episode 142 of the SBP podcast, Mobile Filmmaking, and I'm your host, Susie Botello. We are getting so much closer to the International Mobile Film Festival in San Diego, the 12th annual edition. I'm really excited about that. I wanted to make sure that you don't miss out on it. It's happening April 28th, 29th, and 30th at Marina Village Conference Center. And it's going to be a blast. All right, I'm going to make this quick because we had a great conversation with Luis Fernandez. He's a feature filmmaker who shot his film. It was called Desconocidas, Unknowns, which is screening in our film festival. He shot it. It's well, you know what? It's quite experimental in the way that it was done, but a great accomplishment. And I think you're going to be really inspired by what he shares. So let's go. Let's talk to Luis now. Hey, Luis, where are you right now?
I'm in LA, Susie. Great talking to you.
The city of angels.
Yeah, I'm an angel, though.
It's a pleasure talking to you, and I'm glad that you came on our show to share and to inspire everyone that's out there right now listening. Luis, you are one of the filmmakers that's going to come on in our film festival in person. And you're also an actor and a filmmaker, a performer, a speaker. You're an everything guy.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Now, your film is one of the feature films that will be screening at the festival. And this is in April 28th through the 30th of April. Well, I said that twice. It's a big month.
Exciting, so exciting, Susie. We never thought, wildest dreams that our experiment. It wasn't even a movie when we started, putting it together. We never even dreamed that our movie shot on our phones was going to end up being screened at a movie theater. And I'm so grateful to your festival and to this opportunity to be in person, which is, I cannot stress that enough after what we went through that last couple of years. Mm-hmm. To be in person, sharing with people live, it's an amazing, we cannot take for granted those experiences anymore.
No, we cannot. And I got to tell you, I felt like I wasn't in my element last year because of those 2 years, of that. But this year, oh my God, let me tell you, it's going to be awesome. We are ready for a bigger comeback than we did last year. Your film is called Desconocidas,
yes,
which means, you translated it even in the title also, but is unknowns. Tell us a little bit about the film for those who are going to watch it in our film festival.
Well, this is truly an experiment. It happened right during quarantine. For a long time, we come from Venezuela, my wife and I. We were both actors and writers and producers, and we've been creating our own projects for 20 years now, mostly for the stage. And we've been living in the U.S. for the last 8 years, and our country, Venezuelans have been migrating in masses. We have like 6 million Venezuelans scattered all over the planet. A lot of them are our audience. So we've been trying to figure out a way to connect back with them. But I'm talking they're all over, from Sydney to Sweden, from Spain to the U.S. So it was very, we didn't know how to do that. And while we were quarantining, I was on my phone 24/7, like the rest of us, looking at the news, reading everything and trying to figure out what was going on out there. And my wife told me, that's Mimi Lazo, producer and star of the movie. She said, you know what, you're going to use what you have in your hand to start telling our stories and to recreate what we've been doing on stage, because we discovered Zoom as a tool to connect that we didn't. I mean, we knew it existed, but we didn't know how useful could it be just to create and to connect. So we started. She called her friend and a brilliant writer, Monica Montañez, who was coincidentally working on a project of a master she did in the arts about immigration, and she had this random set of scenes about her true story about migrating to Madrid with her daughter and her mother, who was suffering from Alzheimer's. And so she sent over those pages, and they were incredible. And Mimi called her acting coach and fabulous actress, Veronica Lo. She was in Chile. She was 83 at the time and retired. And she said, you're coming out of retirement and you're going to act. And she said, how? Well, we're going to do this via Zoom and shot on iPhones. And then this happened. And it was a fantastic experience.
So you guys were gonna do this already, and then the pandemic happened?
No. It was after the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah, we came up with the idea of having we were in Madrid at the time. Yeah. Veronica, who plays her mom, was in Santiago de Chile, and the girl that plays Mimi's daughter was in LA, and we just created one apartment with 3 rooms that were in different cities, different countries, but it appears to be one single apartment in the film.
Now, I got to tell you, that was mesmerizing for me, because you had to do that with the cinematography.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that, but go on. Tell us more about.
No, it was just story. I mean, we didn't know how to make that work at all, but we were able to workshop it as you do when you have, because I mean, what happened during the pandemic in terms of movie storytelling with the phones is that the excuses that all filmmakers come up with for not doing their films because they're afraid, basically, is because they don't have the budget. But when you can tell them with the phone, then there's no excuse. And so we were thrown.
And the resources, because the resources all center around the camera, because if you have no camera and you have everything else, you still don't have a film.
Exactly. So when you have it in your hand, and so there was no excuse. So let's do this. And what is this? That was a question. How do you make this work? And it was a workshop. And we, the moment we started rehearsing and reading via Zoom with the actors in 3 different countries, we realized that in the Zoom meeting, we felt so close and it was so intimate that was the spirit that we wanted to have in the film. And then it just happened. And then to add an element of complexity, because why not? If you're experimenting, let's do it with a live audience via Zoom watching the shoot. And so we captured all the scenes with a live audience watching via Zoom, and it was incredible. It was a mixture of theater, cinema, and this whole new format. I don't know how to call it.
Yeah, it's a parallel to the standard traditional film industry.
I believe so, and I truly, I was telling you before we started talking on air, is that you're a pioneer in this celebration of storytelling captured in our mobile phones, because I remember when we didn't have a phone in our hands in the 90s. I was growing up in the 90s, and I had to go and call on a public phone my parents when I wasn't coming home because I was in a party. And now everyone takes for granted this. And actually, this is a tool that is so powerful that we're using it to just 10% of its, what we could do with it. And so you've been a pioneer in celebrating film storytelling with the iPhone, with the phones.
And that's the true driver for this, as storytelling is for everything else. It's the most powerful thing that we have as human beings on this earth is our stories, and being
Right.
able to express them and to share them. That's more powerful than money. And I've listeners who've listened to me in other podcasts know that I always say during the apocalypse, what brings people together as a community so that they can fight the zombies, it's not money, it's their stories, because that builds trust.
Of course. And the possibility of connection, Susie, you know that I've been researching happiness and suffering just because why not? And then one of the main sources of pain and suffering in the human thought process is isolation.
Yes.
And with the pandemic, we were in quarantining and we were more isolated than ever. And all of a sudden, just because we saw the opportunity, we actually ended up connecting with our audience scattered all over the world at the very same time. And it was so powerful, and it was right there. We didn't see it because we didn't have to, but COVID forced us, and so it's kind of a blessing that came with this tragedy. And we have to kind of see it and not go back to the old patterns, because one of the things that we also came up in the workshop is that usually whenever I see, because I've seen a lot of films shot on phones right now, wonderful, wonderful films from China, from Canada, from Germany, from all over, and the level of storytelling and the quality of the image, the visuals are striking, because you can actually put your phone where no other Alexa can be. You can do that. So we have, there's a plus here. But when we were workshopping this, we kind of came up with a concept, and it was, how about we tell this story by hacking into the devices of the characters? And so breaking the fourth wall and just bringing in the audience to spy, to hack the conversation between the character that is in the room, and then just calls the daughter in the other room, because that's what we do. We don't even stand up and go to the other room and knock at the door and open the door.
It was so natural, yes.
So it was organic. And then just the fact that you can actually feel that you're invading the space, kind of even uncomfortably. It's like, you shouldn't be watching this because this is very intimate. It just gives the whole experience an intimacy level that was a big, big surprise for us.
You also had one of the things that I always emphasize a lot, which regardless of whether you're filming with a smartphone or not, it's hard with a lot of films to focus on the characters. But the characters in narrative film are the stories. They are the main participants in that story. It's very important to have good actors, and you accomplished that in your film, and that is part of the driver for such a good story. Because so one of the ways that I watch the films here when I'm screening them for the festival is I turn off all the lights. I watch them at night. I have these huge speakers, and I put it on the biggest screen I can find at home. I only have two.
That's an easy choice.
Yeah, but what I do is I really sit down and I try to make it as best as possible so that I can get the real effect.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that I completely forgot that I was screening a film for the festival shot on a phone. And that was because I became, and that's when I know it's a good film. I became one of your hackers.
Right, exactly. That's the idea. That's what we were, after. That we didn't know if it was accomplishable, but we wanted to strive for that, to aim for that sensation of, this is actually happening right now, and I'm kind of hacking into these women's phones. And Jesus, it's very intimate what I'm seeing, and then you forget. You just get. The thing is, here's the thing. My wife is one of the stars of the movie, Mimi. She's a magnificent actor, and then she starts working. I mean, she calls in to play her mom. She calls in her acting teacher a phenomenal actor. And then we have this girl that we know here in LA who's a phenomenal actor. So the level of talent, I myself, I'm an actor, so I wouldn't work with actors that are not good, because I know, as you say, that if the actors are not good, then you better not do anything, because why are you going to do this? People are not stupid,
Right.
and they're very sophisticated. And I mean, come on, the level of acting that you see in films right now are so powerful and so good that we just get used to that. I mean, we have a threshold of not tolerating bad acting that is very, very high.
Well,
I
you're not
believe.
supposed to even notice. You're supposed to just fall into
Right.
them and not notice that they're acting. That's the whole
Exactly.
point.
That's
You're
the
not
whole
supposed to
point.
really be acting.
So it was very easy for me as a director, because when they were reading, they just, they just they dove into this whole thing, and they were so into it that it was mesmerizing to watch them read. And then the depth of the analysis that they did on the, on analyzing the script, and piecing it together, and also bringing in their own stories, because that's one of the things that this is a story about immigration. I have to
Yeah.
say, I haven't
Yeah.
said it before. It's a story about what, I mean, we define ourselves, Susie, because of our job. This is my house. This is my family. This is my country, and so on and so forth. And these are my memories. Are my memories. So who are you, Susie, when you lose everything? When you're in a different country, in a different house, you don't recognize. You don't have enough space to just unpack the boxes of things you brought from your country. And what if, on top of that, your mother happens to have Alzheimer's, and then she starts forgetting.
That is,
So
yeah, the
it's
story was
so
so deep.
it's just so sad, and so, oh
Gut wrenching.
God, it's gut wrenching, actually. And this is something that happens to Monica Montañez, the writer. And as she was sharing it with us, I was going through exactly the same thing, because my mom has Alzheimer's as well, and I didn't go back to Venezuela in 5 years, and when I got back, she didn't remember me. There's always something real. There's a trauma that comes from the immigration that most people that haven't come from immigrant parents, they can't even understand. It's a pain that you just have to live with for the rest of your life. And Veronica, who plays the grandmother who's losing her mind. She migrated 3 times in her lifetime. She went to Chile, to Argentina, from Argentina to Caracas, Venezuela, and then back to Chile, which was her third immigration. She was coming back to her country and feeling as an outsider in her own country. So the level of detail that they brought into the story, the actors, was amazing. And of course, everything is there. It's beautiful to see them act and bring their own lives. And the other thing, Susie, let me tell you, we were shooting during quarantine. So the bedrooms are our own bedrooms. Mimi's bedroom, Veronica's bedroom, Nina's bedroom, and their own stuff, their own photographs. So
Wow.
they're using their own props from their real life. So that was an amazing, something I didn't think about until we were shooting, and it was, oh my God, she's using actually her own photographs to try to remember her life. That was a gift.
And the thing is that it's a bit like a quilt.
Right. Yeah.
It's like this fabric, right? And pieces of fabric inside of them, all connecting. And I mean that from the stories of the different characters to the locations, right? And the space within the location, how everything looked, what you were stitching everything together to become one space.
Right. That was a I didn't know, we didn't know if we could pull that off, and we worked a lot to make it possible. And the fact that you get sunk into the story and you don't see the details, you can never tell who is where in the story, and you just believe that they're in the same apartment from the beginning. That's a big accomplishment in the process of shooting this.
let's talk a little bit about you. Well, we're already almost in
Oh,
the middle of this. Yes,
my
tell
favorite
us.
subject.
Yeah, no, let's go there. Let's share with people who Luis is. Luis Fernandez.
Luis Fernandez. Yeah. Who am I? Jesus, that's a good question. That is the first question that is asked in the film. Who are you? What a difficult question to ask. I don't know. I have no idea. I
We
was
spend our lifetimes searching for the answer, right?
exactly until you understand that there's no answer. It's just the process of asking yourself the same question over and over again. There's no answer. It's just, it just varies according to where you stand in that moment in time. Who am I? I'm a son of immigrants. My grandparents are from Spain. They migrated to Cuba. Then my parents migrated from Cuba to Venezuela. I was born in Venezuela. I started architecture and I started acting when I was 16. So by the time I graduated from architecture, I knew that that was my hobby, and acting was my true calling of my profession, which didn't make my mother happy at all. And I started acting as a way of know myself, to figure out who I was, because I was very shy, and then by playing other people, I kind of allowed myself to be myself, to speak my own voice through the voices of other characters I was playing. And then I met Mimi, when Mimi and I have been together for 28 years, when we were doing a play together. And Mimi's a powerhouse. She's one of the biggest stars in Latin America, and a great producer and a visionary. And we started, working on our own projects after we realized there's one. I mean, we wanted to tell stories that nobody else was writing for us. So we just teamed up with writers like Mónica Montañez and others who came up with the stories we wanted to talk about. And our goal has always been to put the magnifying glass in the complicated questions of life. Uh, and we've been doing so through comedy, drama, musicals. And here we are now exploring this audiovisual format that we're fascinated with.
It's funny that you said your hobby was architecture.
Yeah, it's a very expensive hobby, I should say. Very expensive one.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually it's the other way around. People use acting as a hobby. Well, actually, I shouldn't just say acting. They use their passion.
Right. That was my mother's, expectations. She wanted to keep me acting as a hobby. And I was so young. I was 17 when I told my mom I want to be an actor, and she was freaking out. Dude, you're studying architecture. You're going to be a serious, respectable professional, not an actor. What is that? So when I graduated, I just gave her my title, and I said, well, now I'm off to the theater. And she wasn't happy. I don't think she ever was. It was a disappointment for her, a big time. But it is what it is. I'm happy I was brave enough to pursue my passion when I was 16 and not pay attention to what others, including my parents, wanted me to do. Otherwise, I would be a very respected architect and a very unhappy one.
And that's how you go from a path to a journey.
There you
You
go.
step from your the ideal profession, which is your path, right? Your career path, into your passion, which is the love of your life, right? And that's your journey. That's where you really grow and expand. And as an actor, what kind of acting roles did you pursue or did you get?
Do you know what, Susie? Now, because I've been exploring the filmmaking part of it, the writing part of our industry more and more, of the storytelling, being behind the cameras more and more, because I've been acting since I'm 16. And one thing I realized, that I hate nostalgia, because it's not. Yeah, I don't know. It's dangerous, I believe. But when you look back, when you ask me that question, and because I've been asked that question, and when I look back, I realized that not only I was pursuing my passion, I was fiercely doing so. And I remember early on in my career, I got offered parts that no other actor wanted to play. And I'm talking about, like I remember when Brokeback Mountain came up in the movies, and it was such a big deal because Jake Gyllenhaal and the other guy were doing this
Heath
gay
Ledger.
Keith Ledger. Oh my
One of my
God,
favorites.
the genius, the genius, and they were doing this gay romance on screen, and everyone was so, oh my God, what a big deal! Like 10 years before that, I was doing that in Latin America.
Wow.
So looking back, I was kind of um, uh, I didn't pay attention to what others said, including my manager and so on. So I think that we have to use our whatever talent we have, Susie, to talk about things that are uncomfortable. And I've been talking today. I was talking to Monica Montañez, who wrote the script for Desconocidas, and we were talking about how, of course, we have our egos and we want to do great stuff for people to say that we are fantastic. That's part of the job, that we are actors, and that's part of our job. But when what you do becomes a service to for a higher purpose, if you will, excuse my cliche, but for a higher purpose, then there's a reward that is worth more than an award. It's really important. You feel that your job is relevant, and then you're serving a purpose that is beyond the gratification of your ego, and that is amazing. And I had the opportunity way before, a couple of years before this whole inclusion of gender diverse people in the film industry. I had the opportunity, and this is a movie I did called Tamara, and it's the real story of the first transgender congressperson elected to a Congress in America. And she's Venezuelan, Tamara Adrian. And she was my friend, and I interviewed her in my radio show for many times. And then a story about her life came about, a movie, and they called me to play her, my friend. And I said, well, I'm not a trans person, I'm a cisgender person. And the director told me, yeah, but you're the best person to play the part. And so I did. And it was at that moment, the transgender community opened their arms, their very generous arms to me, a very ignorant, cisgender, patriarchally raised guy, and opened my mind way beyond the very limiting binary conception of gender. And I said, oh my God, this is amazing. So by just me daring to play that part, I became a better person in doing so. So what an amazing journey if you have that opportunity to embark upon that. And it became the highest grossing film in Venezuela in 2016. And we're talking about the story of a trans person in Venezuela, Latin America, where they kill transgenders in the streets.
Yeah.
So that gave me an answer. Audiences are not only ready, they are hungry for stories that are beyond the boundaries of what we consider politically correct or normal, because we need to evolve, and they're asking for it. Audiences are asking for it, and we as storytellers, we need to address that need, and we need also to include all kinds of people in the process of creating.
And that's the key thing right there. I think it was like 2007, 2008, where every movie that was playing at a home box office movie, right, was some sort of a superhero movie or action film, and the stories were just very generic. It was all there just to make money, and that's why I feel that independent filmmaking is so powerful to the industry of film, more so than people. I mean, on the surface, Hollywood is right there at the forefront, and they'll always be there.
Of course, and there's no point in fighting it. I mean, I love Hollywood.
Yeah.
But you also have to love To Leslie this year. It's an amazing thing that a very small film is actually has an Oscar-nominated actor in the forefront, and they had no money to promote that because it's just political. And then when you see that just with social media, you can push an actor to the front of the line and just have her work seen and people voting for her. That's amazing. Times are changing, and it's awesome to be part of that change.
Yes, most definitely it is. And again, it's all about the stories, and that's what I love about that, and the fact that you were talking about Brokeback Mountain, and that was an independent film when it first came out. It wasn't until they got all the attention that it got that the studios came in and they wanted to, because I remember when that film came out. I'm that old.
Oh,
I
come on.
remember,
That's
yeah,
not about age. I remember when it came out, and I went
yeah.
to movies to see it.
Yeah, and there were lines of people around buildings in the smaller local theaters because
Absolutely.
the major theaters weren't playing it yet, and it wasn't until later that they said,
Right.
well, you know what? We want the money of the masses of people that are, lined up around the theaters, the smaller theaters, and that's when that happened. It's not a bad thing. Brokeback Mountain won a bunch of awards because of that, and it, I forgot the name of the director.
Ang Lee.
Yes, Ang Lee. So it brought a lot, to him as well. From that point forward.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, there's benefits to Hollywood, but a lot of people, it's so going back to the mobile filmmaking thing. I had a lot of people a lot of friends and a lot of people that I worked with who were dying to get into the Hollywood scene.
Right.
And, as soon as somebody finds out you're an actor or that you work on a film or whatever, they want you to help them get in.
Right.
For me, I've always felt a little bit of guilt about that. Probably one of the things that pushed me into this with empathy is the fact that I was privileged in that sense because I was accidentally pushed into it by counselors at school. I was going to be a paralegal, Luis.
Oh.
Yes, I didn't know what I was going to be.
Oh,
because,
thank God we didn't lose you to
no, right?
a lawyer's office. Jesus.
So, that was just my trick to get to pass the bar exam and become an attorney, and I thought I was going to help people that way.
Right.
But my artist inclination when I was a child was dubbed just as yours was, because everybody said, you can't do that. You need to do this. You need to do something different. They didn't say this, just something different. And I didn't know what to do, so I spent half my life lost. And so the privilege of being able to work in video and then films and things like that was something that came to me. I didn't go begging for it. And for people to come to me and beg for it, I felt like you shouldn't have to come to me and beg me.
The thing is, Susie, I believe that, and this sounds also as a cliche, and everyone says it when they're, in a privileged position. I am not in that level of privilege, but they used to say, well, create your own way in. Just create your own way in. And I think that you're doing a great job in promoting this, because a lot of people, I've been experimenting with mobile filmmaking or storytelling, I should say, in different projects. And whenever I get my project out there, seen by someone, they tell me, oh, I liked it a lot. Now you're ready to make a real movie. And I said, well, no, this is a real movie.
Exactly.
Come on. I don't need an Alexa. Jesus, I'm doing a real movie, and this is it. It's a whole genre in itself. It's just a mobile filmmaking, and with no concession. You don't have to make concessions. It's not going to be worse or better. It's just going to be a compelling story told. Just happen to be shot on devices. That's the only different thing. And so to be proud of what you're doing with a phone. And not, aspiring to now, let's do it with the next big camera that comes my way. It doesn't make a difference. When you have a powerful story, people are not thinking about the very tiny technical detail of the whole thing. They're just pulled in.
You know who is thinking about it though, Luis?
Who?
People who dream and feel like they can't get there without a big camera. And that's why I like to point out, and it was shot with a phone. Because then it inspires them. Really, I have that. I have this phone. You're going to see at the film festival, Luis, people who go there to watch a movie and they're looking at it and they're going, wait, I have a phone like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everyone, all of us, we have a phone in our hands who happens
And a
to be
story.
we all have a story.
Yep.
Everyone has a story to tell. And we have a phone that happens to shoot in 4K to be projected on the biggest screen. Mm-hmm. So go out there and tell your story, write it down, do your work, do the homework, and surround yourself with people, creative people that will just join you in this effort. I think that the biggest challenge that you have as a promoter of mobile filmmaking is that you are taking away the sacred excuse of the filmmaker. You know, the insecurity of the filmmaker is so big, and the self-doubt is so powerful that you start saying, I haven't shot my film because I don't have the budget. You know, the process is so complicated. I have to, pitch my story, and people have to put a lot of money in it, and so on and so forth. And that is not true. You're just telling people in their faces, you're not doing your film because you don't want to, because you can do it with all that.
Yes, but what happens to people a lot, psychologically, right? You get used to saying, I can't do this, and you become that character, right, that can't do this thing. And that becomes the rest of your life doing that. And that feels comfortable because you've been saying that for so long. But you have to step outside and say, I can do it, and I'm going to do it this way.
This podcast has turned into a self-help workshop. Let me tell you something. Our industry specifically, I mean, we are in front of the camera. We are being judged constantly by others. People always have an opinion about you and your work, and then you and your work becomes, that line becomes blurry, and then the opinions are about you, not about what you do, and then it becomes a whole mess. But we have to do our soul-searching process. And in the end, Susie, what happens, I believe, is that you particularly are kind of a supervillain, because what does a supervillain do? They come and try to change things, and then the superheroes will go out of their way to stop you and make things stay the way they are. So you're going to get a lot of resistance in bringing this. I bet you had already. But
oh, gosh, you don't even know.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm happy to join your supervillain club and tell people, listen, this can be done. If you're not shooting your film, it's because you don't want to and because you're afraid. So go out with your phone and shoot it.
I got a lot of resistance when I first put it out. You know where I put it? We've met already on LinkedIn. That's exactly where I shared it. And I have a group there. It's called the San Diego Video Network. And I said, hey, guys, I'm doing this. And my entire network said, bye.
Right.
And I did get people message me and say, things like, are you kidding me? Do you know how insulted I am? I've spent my whole life with, learning
right.
All this, and now some kid with a phone. And I was like, you got to start rolling somewhere. And we went from film to digital. Calm down.
Right, exactly. We heard the same thing when we were 35 millimeters and then digital. We heard the same thing. Yeah. Change always has a resistance. And I've seen, Susie, traveling around the film festival circuit, I've seen movies that are brilliant. And so, and it's not, now they're going to make the next a real film. No. These are real things, moving films that I've seen in the big screen, and it's been amazing. So
I have to say something.
Go ahead.
So I've been saying since last summer, I wrote an article, and I said, in the mobile filmmaking industry, from other festival founders and things like that, we're always like looking and saying, and we've been doing this since, I think it was when Sean Baker made Tangerine.
Exactly.
That said, is this it? Is this the moment mobile filmmaking goes mainstream? So last summer, I wrote an article and said, you have my permission as a pioneer. If you ever needed a permission, you can blame it on me. I'm telling you right now, it is mainstream.
Of course
because
it is.
You shoot it with the phone, you shoot it with a camera, you shoot it with a RED, whatever you want to shoot it with. Your next step is distribution. Amazon, Tubi. Guess what? You shoot it with a phone. Your next step is distribution. Amazon and Tubi already there. So what else would make it mainstream? Nothing. We're there.
Nothing.
We're here.
So you better have a really damn good story to tell and do your job and do your homework and tell it. I mean, if it doesn't go mainstream, it maybe is because of you. So let's own it. Let's own it. That's my point. And let's make mistakes. It's not expensive to make mistakes in this way of telling the stories. It's not expensive. You don't have to have $1 million movie and fail and then owe $1 million to others. You can do it and fail on your own, and that's amazing. That's an amazing thing.
You know, the danger of a director who falls in love with their film and says it's perfect, that's the dangerous part. I don't know of any wonderful director who doesn't see flaws in every single one of their films.
Yeah, listen, Susie,
that's how they learn.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to see in the big screen for the first time in a festival we went, my movie and other movies. Yeah. And I thought, oh my God, these movies are fantastic, and they're going to find out I'm a liar, because when my movie will come up, they'll see that is out of focus here. They'll see the
because that's what you see as a director.
Exactly, yeah. But you know what you're saying is crucial, and I'm not saying it happens with my movie necessarily, but the thing is, you tell a story. If it's a good story, you can tell it in any single media. You can just tell it like they did in the early ages, or you can shoot it, or you can stage it, or you can do it in any single format. If it's a good story, if it's a relevant story, if it poses difficult questions, and you bring people together to ask ourselves the difficult questions together, regardless of the answers that we come up after that, that is worth the effort, and that it doesn't really matter. So,
so I think filmmaking, though, is the best way to tell a story because of the reach that it has for people. It creates empathy in a way that other ways don't. And I think that's because of all the senses that we have that's involved when you're watching a film. There's no effort involved. You're sitting there and you're crying,
right?
You know, and you're feeling it, and you're feeling empathy for that poor person right there who is on the sidewalk, on the ground, getting stepped on. You know, you're feeling these things in a way that if you read something, your imagination takes over. So you're only getting half the picture. Right. Pun intended. Mm-hmm. And there's also so many psychological things that happen. You know this from your film. The gut-wrenching parts of your film, and I don't want to give away anything about your film because I want people to come to the festival, meet you, and watch the film. But there's gut-wrenching parts that you don't see, but you feel. Right. And that's because you did a really good job, and they did a good job as the characters in the acting, but the story in itself, it connects with people.
Well, Susie, I'm a child of the movies, and my mom was a very shy person, and I think she escaped her frustrations, her personal frustrations in the movie theater, mm-hmm. and she took me with her like a Purple Rose of Cairo kind of thing, and I just, I was with her. I was a collateral damage of that, and as a very young child, I understood my mom's escape through film, and I think that she passed that on to me, because we are all, and we don't even notice that, because it just permeates the collective unconsciousness that we are children of the movies, and for the reason that you just said. And I disagree. It's not the only media, because I'm a child of the theater as well,
right.
And I was born on stage, I would say. And when I go to a good play, it's just like my church. I mean, I'm not religious. I just go to the theater, and I see God. And but but not everyone goes to the theater, but everyone goes to the movies. So it's just a collective experience. just sitting there.
And
And
you
it's
don't have to know how to read,
right.
right?
No, and
You
you can,
don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to go to where your play is playing, wherever it
right.
happens to be playing.
Mm,
And that's part of the other factor that goes into film, that it's recorded at this time and you can play it. Look at how many, let's go back to Brokeback Mountain. Let's not go broke over Brokeback Mountain.
right.
Uh, but but going back to that was film. Heath Ledger, unfortunately, is not even alive anymore, and yet you can see him and
Yeah,
you
it's
can feel
wonderful.
him every day if you want to.
Yeah, well, obviously, you and I, we love films, but most people do, and they don't even know it.
True.
And yeah, and because it forms our way of understanding the world and our emotions, or even our own most complicated emotions, are explained through movies, and you don't even have to process them rationally; just experience them from a subconscious level.
It's effortless.
Effortless, yeah, yeah, it's been very, very powerful. So and people say that movie theaters are dying. People are not going to the movies. I don't believe that. Maybe they are going less now, but they will come back because it's just the collective experience of sitting in a dark room with a bunch of strangers and all at the same time experiencing the same thing. And that is as close as it gets to a spiritual experience. What do you feel when you're in front of a pastor or whatever religion you have, and you see something that is more powerful than just us individually, collectively, and it's amazing.
Like
I
a
mean,
cult.
like yeah, exactly. And well, I'm privileged to live in Los Angeles, and to people here go to the movie theaters. But even if you see it in your laptop or in on your phones or while driving or whatever,
Or like
it's
in the pandemic through Zoom.
exactly. So there's an infinite possibilities of experiencing the audiovisual thing and being affected by it. And especially, when you go to the Gen Zs, my son, for instance, he's always on the phone. He's always watching something, and it's a different thing. We don't even understand how those brains are wired, but they're going to change the industry
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Even though if you and I go to the movies, to the movie theater and buy our ticket, these kids are going to change the film industry for sure as audiences. So it's fascinating to watch it evolve, and at the same time with the fantastic paradox of what movie making brings. We will always have a movie theater to go to and buy the popcorn and sit down and share with strangers in the dark.
Yeah, because like for your mom, the escape, right? Turn off the lights, sit comfortably, and walk into another world.
Exactly. And that's why we don't forgive bad movies, boring movies. That's why because it's just a sacred thing for us to do. Even if we don't even know that we're doing it. If the movie is not telling us something or moving us emotionally in some way, it's the waste of the time of the audience is something that you have to take seriously as a filmmaker. So yeah, it's scary.
Yeah. Well, it's a very strange world we're living in right now. There's a lot of bad things happening, but the world of movie making and storytelling is thriving as it always was, evolving, and just getting better every day, especially with people like you, Luis.
Oh, thank you, Susie. Come on. No.
Keep creating.
Well, I will. I have no other choice. That's my
That's your
survival.
passion.
My smart. I would say it's my survival tool. I don't think I would be alive if I didn't have the possibility to create. But you said something. I mean, there's a lot of bad things happening in the world right now, but there's always been bad things happening in the world. The thing is that we're just living them, and we're not going through Second World War, and arts and filmmaking for the whole 20th century and what we're living of the 21st has been a tool of not only art but immediate access to people and serving the higher purpose. What we talked before, serving to a higher purpose of bringing us together, connecting us, and in some way kind of eradicating the generic suffering of the world, I would say.
I want to ask you one thing more that I don't want to miss this part, and I think it's important with your filmmaking process for your film is the sound. How, because it was, you're basically remote. Did you travel to every one of these places to film them? No.
No, what we did is that I kind of I gathered three little production units in each city. One in Santiago de Chile, one in LA, and one in Madrid. But very little units, like 3 people, 4 people the most.
Yeah.
We were quarantining. So, for instance, Veronica, she was 83 at the time, so it was very difficult to shoot inside her tiny apartment in Chile. So only 2 people went in with COVID tests every day to make sure that everything was, safe for her, because it was dangerous for her health.
Yes.
At the very peak of the crisis, when we didn't know how bad it was going to be, and it was getting worse by the day, so it was kind of scary. So yeah, and I directed them via Zoom. So that was another challenge to the communication. Hey, I want to see the shot, so bring the computer to the phone and let me see the framing. And it was a bit complicated at the beginning, but then we kind of.
And you had a live audience.
We did the whole technical thing, and then we brought in the live audience when we were ready to shoot. We rehearsed it a lot, and then we brought in the live audience to watch later on. Because this was a whole day shoot. We just brought in the audience when we were doing the scene, and we put phones all over the place. That's the truth. We had 7 different phones in Chile, 3 different phones in LA, and like 10 phones in Madrid. So we were shooting the whole thing. I mean, everything was already, the phones were taped in the ceiling and in the walls, and it was fun. It was crazy, and we didn't know if it was going to work. And then all that material, all downloaded into a computer, and then start watching the whole thing and figuring out how to piece it together. That was another challenge, but it was so much fun. It just made the pandemic worth it, and gave us like an amazing answer to a question that we haven't even asked before. That's that.
You challenged yourself big time. Instead of saying I can't because of the pandemic, you challenged it even greater than.
I'm not going to say I challenged myself. I'm going to say my wife challenged myself and challenged me. And she said, listen, dude, just do this. Stop with the excuses. I don't want to hear it's impossible. Just do it. Come up with a way of doing it. And there was no way out. We were quarantining. I couldn't even go out. So I had to do it.
Well, I'm looking forward to you guys doing your Q&A at the film festival. It's coming up in like 2 months now. It's 60 days, literally, almost. So.
Oh, fantastic! And actually, we're going. It's Mimi and I, and the other actor, Nina.
Oh, nice.
Who plays the daughter, also coming. Unfortunately, Veronica passed away in January.
Oh.
And we would have loved to have her in the Q&A via Zoom. She was a phenomenal woman, and an artist, and a teacher, and a coach. She was amazing. But the greatest thing of this is that Mimi brought her out from retirement and made her act again. So she said goodbye with a serious piece of work that is amazing. You should watch her performance.
And with the newest technology and most innovative way.
Yeah. She just
opening the door to the future.
Absolutely. She rocked it big time. So we're very proud that we gave her that opportunity to do as her last performance of her life. So
bravo.
Yeah. What a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift for a filmmaker.
For a performer, that's quite an exit.
But come on, for me, talk about being lucky to have an 83-year-old phenomenal actor give her last performance to your experiment, and just go with it. I mean, fearlessly. You should see her. I mean, come and see her. Her performance is brilliant.
Yes, everybody come and see it. Well, is there any this is very inappropriate after what we were just talking about. Any last words?
Jesus. No, I'm not going to say any last words. I have those last words are going to, in about 47 years, I'll tell you the last words. I have many words, as you can say. I can tell many words to say, but just come on, celebrate mobile filmmaking. Join this festival, which is amazing. I congratulate you, Susie, for this pioneering and visionary celebration of storytelling. And I don't know. We just have to keep pushing for this to reach every single one, every single device. We should, connect the devices of everyone to your films, the films that you're showcasing in your festival, and keep reaching, connecting people.
Yes,
That's
the part. Well, welcome to the mobile filmmaking community, Luis.
Thank you.
We already love you.
Thank you so much, Susie, for having me. And see you in person in April in San Diego.
You bet. Now, here's one little thing that we always do. Say goodbye to our listeners.
Thank you, everyone, for being there, patiently listening to everything I just said. I hope it was entertaining. And I hope you join us in celebrating storytelling in alternative ways.